So hello there, good afternoon, wherever you're watching us live from around the world. We are here for the penultimate race of the Formula Euroleague Tier 2 season. Hi, my name is Adam Burns, leading on commentary here, and once again I am joined by my co-commentator from the last race. With me here again, it's Alex. Alex, how are you today, mate? All good?
Yeah, I'm doing very good, Adam. How about yourself, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. It's obviously a fine Sunday here in the United Kingdom where I'm watching this from, and you guys joining into this channel are about to see the penultimate race of the Formula Euroleague Tier 2 season. Now, Alex, quite a big finale to this season we're still in store for, and of course, last week, if you missed that race, the Spanish Grand Prix, you would have seen the crowning of the inaugural Tier 2 champion for Formula Euroleague, Plage in the Ferrari. But nonetheless, it's still all to play for in the Constructors' Championship. Today, Ferrari have the golden opportunity to seal both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championships for this season today. Alex, given what we've seen from Plage and the Ferrari team in general this season, do you believe that they will be able to get that done today?
Well, I mean, Plage has just been so dominant throughout this season. And if iQuicks is able to find some pace, pick up some more points, maybe even pick up a sixth or a seventh or an eighth, they'll surely be able to wrap up this constructors. So it's looking good for the Ferrari boys.
Yeah, I was saying it was a strong performance from Plage once again. Of course, in qualifying in Spain, for those of you that didn't watch the race, I definitely recommend that you watch it. We still have highlights of that live on the Formula Euroleague Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/Formula_Euro_League. Make sure to like, share and subscribe to our Twitch channel. And of course, you can also follow us on YouTube as well, Formula_Euro_League on YouTube, if you are watching this race. Watching the highlights on a later day. Now, as we were saying, back to that Spanish Grand Prix, Plage showed everybody exactly why he is the man that has been really leading the F2 champ. It's not F2 champ, the Tier 2 championship this season, and why he is the champion after a less than satisfactory qualifying, starting in 11th place, but managed to fight his way all the way through the field to eventually take the victory, as if it was ever in doubt. So, Alex, I guess my question to you is, do you see perhaps his rivals in either Compassion at Red Bull, or perhaps even anyone else in this field that can really try and build up some momentum for next season?
Well, I think Plage is, obviously he's won the title, so he personally isn't going to have anything to gain from it, but he still wants to win the constructors, surely, for the red Ferrari, so he will still look to push on. So it will be interesting to see if Compassion or Avesta will still try and push on to gain those extra few points. Even Matthias there in fourth in the standings, if I'm not wrong about that. So they're all going to want to push forward and get some momentum, see if they can get some interest from the Tier 1 teams and see if they're able to break through at all.
No, you're absolutely right. And of course, that is a very important point in Formula Euroleague. There are 3 leagues now. Of course, we had the Formula Euroleague Division 3 race in Germany yesterday. So, of course, if you haven't checked that out, you can watch that on the Formula Euroleague Twitch channel or on the Formula Euroleague YouTube channel. Either way is good, but make sure you like and subscribe to both to help us out. Really means a lot. As we're about to get underway for qualifying, is there anyone in particular in this field, Alex? Obviously, you've been with us for a very short time now, but from what you saw in the Spanish Grand Prix race, is there anyone in particular that you are going to look out for in this Hungarian Grand Prix? Either someone that perhaps needs to improve or build up some momentum for next season, or someone that has caught your eye and is doing quite well?
Well, I think, if I remember rightly, Labrax had a good race last time out. I mean, he hadn't picked up many points before in the season, but if I'm not too wrong, I remember seeing Labrax near the top of the field last time out in Spain, so he had a very good performance. So if he's able to carry that momentum through into today, that'll be fantastic.
Yeah, it's right that you pointed out Labrax. As just mentioned, the Toro Rosso drivers in particular, Labrax and Heckkamp, are putting a very stellar performance in the Spanish Grand Prix last time out, and they'll be hoping to continue on. And Labrax has only been with us for a few weeks now, and he's already raised a few eyebrows in the paddocks. Definitely a guy that's going to be looking to send some shockwaves next season and perhaps compete for the Tier 2 Championship in particular. But now, of course, if you're just joining us on Twitch, welcome along. Thank you for following us today. Hopefully you enjoy the action as we are live here for the Formula EuroLeague Tier 2 qualifying here at the Hungarian Grand Prix at the Nagadij circuit here near Budapest. It's been on the Formula 1 calendar since 1986, every year since. And of course, this is a venue that has itself seen a championship finale. Of course, Michael Schumacher winning the Drivers' Championship in 2001, his fourth, it is fourth. Almost get my numbers mixed up for Ferrari there. And it's definitely a setting that really is a test for these drivers. It's very much a driver's circuit, a technical circuit, Alex. So it'll be a good opportunity to really see which drivers in particular are more comfortable tackling these tight turns than others, wouldn't you say?
Well, I mean, I think it has the nickname Monaco without the barriers, and that just shows how tough of a track it is to get right. I mean, the grass surrounding the track, if you step just outside the white lines at all and you carry too much throttle, you're going to be going into a spin, and you're not going to be able to correct it, and you might head into a tyre wall or even a barrier if you're at the unfortunate part of the track.
Well, as you say that, and just gone to the McLaren of Riley Byers here on his outlap, who looks like he's completely lost it. Coming through the difficult turn 4, where it sort of swings left to right, and you've got that runoff air on the outside. You get it horribly wrong, the back end of your car steps out, and you're almost a passenger at that point. So, yeah, absolutely right. Monaco without the barriers. And it'd be a good test for a lot of these drivers to really hook their laps up and get it in. The first of which, as we're with right now, the Alfa Romeo of Luke Burns, a driver who has not yet scored this season, has been literally knocking on the door to get a championship point, and a driver that in the week has been telling me he's been doing a lot of practice, although he will have to go again after invalidating that lap. But as you can see, it's already proven to be a challenge, particularly at turn 4 there, Alex, where you've got the fast left-hander, and you really want to try not to run too wide or risk invalidating your lap. As a driver, what do you feel are going to be the biggest challenges on this circuit for these guys today?
I think, well, I mean, it depends. In qualifying, it's definitely going to be, as you mentioned, that fast left-hander, because you want to take as much of a tight line as possible, but obviously because you're carrying so much speed, it's hard to get very precise on staying on the track, so that's going to be a tough one to see who can gamble the most. But then during the race, I mean, the chicane is going to be tough, because that is a place where you can gain speed through that left-hander into the right-hander, so you may see people go for an overtake through the chicane, whether it is a good place to go for or not. And then obviously the first hairpin, the first turn is always a tough one to get right, as it's from the longest straight on the track down into the heaviest braking zone on the track. So you could see a few lockups and maybe a few spins if they try and get on the power too quickly.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It is a challenge, and of course, as we see TTVI Quickset in the Ferrari coming through the penultimate corner, really struggling to keep the back end of that Ferrari hooked in, as on the harder tyres. So a lot of guys setting out their first banker lap times, if you like, on the hard tyres, expecting pole position perhaps to be a late 1:15, possibly, maybe in the 1:16s today. The strategy, for those of you asking in the chat now, like most circuits on the Formula 1 calendar, especially in this championship, it's a one-stop race. Two-stopper is an option, but realistically speaking, probably not the best option, of course. And I'd say, for me personally, the optimum strategy would probably be softer tyres up to around lap 12 to 15, and then pitting onto the medium tyres to go to the end. Of course, the medium to hard strategy is also an option as well as the soft to hard, but I would say optimum tyre strategy today, Alex, would be soft to medium. Would you agree with that, or would you go differently?
Yeah, I mean, there's the two softest compounds. They'll give you the most speed. I mean, you may have to worry about tyre wear at the end. So if drivers aren't too confident in their tyre wear and how they're able to manage it, they may do a soft hard, or maybe if they qualify at the top 10, they might go medium hard. But I'd say, as you said, the soft medium would most likely be the best strategy around this track.
So we're on board at the moment with Danny Hetcampo in the Toro Rosso, putting a great job for the Toro Rosso team in the last time out in Spain. And as he comes through the penultimate corner, he loses the back end a little bit. He's having a hard time getting the grip down. The track appears very, very green at the moment, where a lot of guys really struggling to keep their cars stable. And does a 1:19.5 on the harder tyres. So don't be fooled by the pace at the moment, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone seems to be doing their banker laps on the harder tyres. Try and lay some rubber down, get the track to be a bit faster, set a few laps so they feel comfortable, and then put on their real qualifying tyres later on in the session. There's plenty of time left to go. Of course, we've got 12 minutes left in the penultimate qualifying session of the season, and it's been a very good introduction to Formula Euroleague. Of course, last season it was only one tier. Now we've expanded to as many as 3 tiers in such a short time. So, Alex, I mean, as one of our Formula Euroleague Division 3 commentators, what would you reckon has been the thing that's impressed you the most so far?
Well, I mean, the pace between all 3 tiers has been just mental. I mean, tier 1 is obviously your creme de la creme, the quickest guys in the Formula League pyramid. But then tier 2, what I watched here last week, are just as quick. And even tier 3, there's some guys in there who are even just as quick. So, I mean, it just shows how, although there's 3 tiers and, you know, you'd normally associate tier 3 with being quite slow, they're all quick guys in that tier. So it shows the wealth of good drivers the Formula Euroleague has to their arsenal.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, having commentated on tier 1 and tier 2 races myself, there is definitely a large amount of depth of quality amongst the drivers. Plenty of drivers in this category could also make the jump into tier 1. But of course, over time, we'll find that we'll start to see the creme de la creme, as you've put it, Alex, reaching the very top. And of course, the drivers that have still got work to do in this game and future games as well coming up, with of course the introduction to F1 2020 in July, to give them a bit more inspiration to work harder and try and get into the top tier. Eventually that is what everybody wants, to compete and win championship at the highest division possible, and that's why we love this. We all have this joint passion for racing, to see the best of the best duking it out week after week on many circuits across the world, and you can only get that on channels like this, as Roy Boy comes across the line, 5th fastest overall so far for 1:17.8. Interestingly enough, the first soft tyre run done by Luke Burns in the Alfa Romeo, 6th fastest overall, 7/10 of a second shy of Pleisable. So it looks like pole position today, Alex, is going to be nearer the 1:16s, I believe, rather than a 1:15. The track just doesn't seem to be quite as quick as we thought it was going to be at this point in time, but things can still change.
Yeah, the tyres just don't seem like they're breaking into the track, and they can't find any grip at all. So, I mean, if they're not able to go as quick, maybe a 1:16 is the time you're looking for. But, I mean, Luke Burns on the soft, I mean, if that's his quickest lap on the soft and they're meant to be the grippiest tyres, maybe just the hards, maybe as to combat with the green circuit, maybe not trying to get the grippiest tyres on the track, maybe the best way to go around it, don't you think?
Well, it's interesting that you mention that, because the harder tyres are a lot more durable, they're a lot more consistent in terms of their grip levels. They don't really fall away anywhere near as quickly as the softer tyres do. But my problem with the harder tyres, when you're trying to get used to a circuit, is you can only lay so much rubber down. The softer tyres, because they wear faster, you're able to lay more rubber down on the racing line, the cleanest line, which all the drivers try to tackle. And it makes the track faster and faster as the session goes on, a lot quicker than it would be if everyone ran on the harder tyres. The problem with that, though, is it leaves more marbles offline, which creates more problems for drivers if they go a bit wide, especially on a circuit like this where you really need to maximise the grip possible. A lot of downforce is going to be run on this circuit. So quite an interesting choice by a lot of these guys, but I'm expecting within the next couple of minutes for them to start all pitting, put on their fastest tyres, and then go out and set their fastest lap at the moment. Still plenty of running, 8 minutes left to go, and at the moment we have Pleisable leading from the front, our Formula Euroleague Tier 2 champion. Not a lot of pressure on his shoulders today. He's got the Constructors' Championship, of course, to try and wrap up. Unfortunately, it seems that we only have one Red Bull in the running now. Alex, not to be the bearer of bad news in terms of the viewers, but if Red Bull only are able to field one driver, I believe that means that this Constructors' Championship may already be wrapped up, as Red Bull cannot possibly score enough points to take this to a final race, which is a shame.
Yeah, it's a big shame, but obviously, you know, if drivers can't be here, I think it would have been Nick who would have been in the other Red Bull today. But if drivers can't be here, then, you know, you can't really help that. So it will be disappointing, but they'll just have to look back and think, could we have got this done earlier in the season? We wouldn't have to worry about the last 3 races. So we'll just have to wait and see.
That's a good point, and you've got to be in it to win it, that is for sure. And Plajabol in particular, a winner of 6 Grand Prix this season. I mean, considering that this is our 10th race, having won 6 of them, one of which he wasn't even competing in, that he didn't win, is quite remarkable and shows exactly why. We're just seeing a lot of drivers there having a lot of difficulties getting offline. Of course, one of the things to mention, Alex, is that with the street circuit-like nature of the Hungaroring, it makes it very, very difficult for drivers on their outlaps to get out of the way of drivers on their fast lap, and equally it makes it more frustrating for drivers on their fast laps to actually try and get a clear lap in.
Yeah, so I think a lot of the drivers going on to their medium tyres now to see what kind of lap they can set. So maybe the mediums will be the starting tyre of choice, but some drivers are coming into the pits to maybe change onto that soft tyre to try and make their pole lap.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why the medium to soft strategy, and those of you probably thinking in the comment section, what, you know, I've mentioned the soft to mediums, why surely the medium to soft is not a better option, because the track will be a lot faster and you can get more out of the softer tyres towards the end of the race. Well, it can work. The only problem is that in qualifying, if you go onto the medium tyres and everyone else puts on the softs and you get bogged down to either 10th or worse outside the top 10, you kind of leave yourself in a position where you're fighting traffic, and with that it causes your tyres to wear even more. So the softer tyres will become a less enjoyable tyre to use, and then it completely mitigates your strategy to a medium to hard, which we've seen is not the fastest strategy. So yes, if you're fast enough to get a good qualifying position, as at the moment Shocky Pappy is in 2nd place, but if everybody else puts on the soft or medium tyres and relegates him further down, that strategy becomes null and void almost. So yeah, you're right, medium tyres probably would work, but I'm expecting everyone to put on the softer tyres, unless everyone gets together that we're not aware of, Alex, and puts on the medium tyres as well, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, maybe they had a bit of a league meeting saying, alright, we're all going on the mediums, let's make it an even race, so we'll still have to wait and see. Compassion, I think, is still out on his 4-lap old hard, so he's sticking with the hard strategy, but he has found 2 temps in the first sector, so maybe he is still finding pace out of those hard tyres. But no, I think the lap's invalidated because his sector is all red. So.
Yeah, so absolutely right. I was going to point it out. Plajabol has just gone faster on the medium tyres, so he's found 0.8 of a second there, and that's around about the difference in delta between these tyres. So the medium tyres are about worth 0.8 of a second over the hards. The hards really aren't the tyre you want to qualify on, in my opinion. The softer tyres give you probably another half a second on top of that, but you really have to nail your lap, and Plajabol looks like he's done that on the medium tyres, and you might find that might be good enough for him to start the race on that strategy. He's got one more run potentially in him, but we'll have to wait and see what everyone else done. No one else has set a time anywhere near as quick as that, and more often than not, everyone else is really struggling, as Bjorn goes 2nd fastest in the Renault on the medium tyres. The other driver currently on a flying lap at the moment, Danny Hetkamper in the Toro Rosso, a lot further down than he'd like to be, currently on the medium tyres, and he's set a purple sector 2, and he's a lot faster than he is shown on his previous flying lap. We'll have to wait and see what it translates to. He's got 2 cars on the final corner now, who shouldn't be a problem for him, as they're about to start their own flying laps now. As he comes across the final corner now, needs to hug to the inside and then let the car drift out wide to maximise speed on the exit. It comes across the line. What's the time going to be? 1:17.5. So, Alex, I mean, we were talking about Luke Burns struggling to really set a flyer on the softer tyres, but it seems everybody, with the exception of Plajabol, really struggling to find that speed in the medium tyres at the moment. It seems going to be a very mixed up strategy at the moment, unless there are other drivers who can really nail their flying laps.
Yeah, I mean, they've got 2 minutes 30 left, so if they're on an out lap, they'll be able to start it and get in a flying lap. Some drivers are already on a flying lap, so we'll just have to see what their strategy is. If they will try and wait for the last lap and try and knock everyone off. I mean, Colley's coming out of the pits just behind the Williams of, I think that's a Chucky Puppy. I don't know how to say it. No, he's not. I'm lost. I'm so lost. Fleisenwald is on pole on the mediums. Bjorn is second on the mediums. Pappy on the soft. So I mean, it looks like the medium is the faster tyre to be on at the moment.
Oh, and speaking of which, Ice-T goes second fastest out of nowhere. There's a guy that's needed to return to form in this Tier 2 category, Ice-T, and the Renault doing a great job there, putting on the front row on the medium tyres. I was just going to say, Luke Burns was on another flying lap on the softs and set the fastest first sector, but again at turn 4 went a bit wide and got his lap invalidated, so that's completely ruined it for him now. So we're going to go on board with Danny Hetkamper now. What can he do? Can he try and get himself near the front row? He's got a 117.5 at the moment as Plajabol goes even faster, 116.389 on the medium. So another lap on the mediums, although a bit unnecessary because that's another lap off his medium tyres in this race, which will jeopardise him later on. Nevertheless, we'll go back to Danny Hetkamper now as he flies through, coming up to the dreaded turn 4. Can he keep it within the white lines, or will his lap be invalidated? He goes a bit wide. Oh, and he
crashed. IST has crashed out at the fast left-hander. He must have lost control and he's put it into the tyre barrier. So as I said, if you get any part of this track wrong and get a little too quick on the grass, you're just skating off into a tyre barrier or a barricade. So he has had the unfortunate collision with that tyre barrier, but he will have to start. So he is second on the grid for now, but he may have got all his bad luck out before the race.
Yeah, let's hope that's the case for him. We're on board with Compassion now as Danny Hetkamper's lap was invalidated, but Compassion's looked pretty solid in the opening sector, not too bad. Now he comes to the fast right-hander. Don't let the car drift too far on the left-hand side. Comes across the middle sector. It's a purple middle sector for him. He's half a second up on his own time, which will get him as far as third on the grid as MDJ in the Williams goes third fastest. Now to the penultimate corner. You need to hug it. You need to be patient though. Don't let the car drift too far. He's controlled that nicely. Now for the final corner. You let it run out a little bit, then tuck to the inside as Luke Burns goes third fastest. And Alfa Romeo is shocked as he comes across the line for Compassion here, and he goes third fastest. So Compassion in the Red Bull, just behind Ice-T and Plajabol on the front row. Luke Burns, what a great lap from him, although he is on the softer tyres. So a bit of a pace advantage to the guys behind him, but that is his best qualifying of the season so far. MDJ is fifth fastest now. We just seen just Mortal for Loz qualify in the top 10. Labrax looks like he's abandoning his lap. He will be ninth, but with Shocky Pappy now, who's on the softer tyres, who is making a big improvement here. Watch out for Shocky Pappy, Alex. He might get... Oh, he's invalidated the lap. I was just about to... He was looking good to get on the front row, and he's just ruined his lap. So just looking through to see anyone else on a flying lap. MDJ's finished. Labrax is finished. Vesta Racing, he's gone into the pit, so I believe that is the end of qualifying, ladies and gentlemen. And once again, the man of the moment, Plajabol, the former EuroLeague Tier 2 champion, will start on pole position once again. Ice-T, despite his crash at the end of qualifying, will start on the front row rhythm, a return to form for him, much needed. Compassion looks like, unless his Red Bull teammate joins into the race later on, I believe it will be little to no vein in terms of trying to win the Constructors' Championship today. And Luke Burns, surprise, surprise, despite being on the soft tyre, by far his best qualifying performance in the season, will start in fourth position on the second row. So what do you make of that qualifying session, Alex? You any surprises there for you?
I mean, Luke Burns and Ice-T second and fourth on the grid, they're two massive surprises. Obviously Luke Burns did go onto the quicker, softer tyre, so he may have compromised his race strategy there by doing 2 laps on the softs to get into on the second row. But Ice-T, when doing the 1 laps on the mediums, he's going to have fresher mediums than Pleasantville, so if he's able to get a better start, then he may be able to take this fight to Pleasantville off the jump, off the start.
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, I said soft to mediums would be the way to go, although he did do 2 laps on those softer tyres. But of course, the others seem to be favouring the mediums as we go. But that is the end of qualifying, guys. And just to give you a roundup of the qualifying order, Pleasurable once again in the Ferrari, the champion of Formula Euroleague 2, hoping to seal the double for the Constructors' Championship today. He starts on the pole position. Ice-T, a return to form from him in the Renault, second fastest, one of his better performances this season. Compassion running off the top 3 in the Red Bull. Luke Burns, surprise for him, best performance in qualifying, in 4th on the softer tyres though. MDJ 5th for Williams, Bjorn 6th for Renault, Roy Boy 7th in Racing Point, Killer 7 8th for McLaren, Shocky Pappy Mercedes 9th, and Labrax rounding off the top 10 in the Toro Rosso. Will have work to do to continue his fine form since joining Formula Euroleague a couple of weeks ago. Guys, who you think is going to win this race? Who do you think we should be looking out for? And also, do we believe anyone can stop Pleasurable? Right now, he's got the Drivers' Championship wrapped up. It looks pretty much that the Constructors' Championship is also a formality at this point, but we'll await confirmation at the end of this race to confirm that to you. Do you think there's anyone in this field that can beat Pleasurable today? Now, of course, other formalities as well. We've got the Formula Euroleague Tier 1 race later on tonight as well. That'll be on at 7:45 European time, 6:45 PM UK time on the Formula League Twitch channel _league. You can watch that race live on the Formula Euroleague channels. And of course, if you are watching them on YouTube, you can watch these races as the highlights are uploaded a day later. And of course, our Tier 3 race is now on the YouTube channel to check that out as well, as we're about to get underway for the formation lap. Just before we do, guys, of course, is my famous question of the week that we should mention as well. So a nice and easy one for Hungary, a Grand Prix that's been on the Formula 1 Canada since 1986. Now it's going to be, actually I'm going to give you 2. Let's see how this goes. So if you get the first one right a bit easy, I'll give you a slightly tougher one afterwards to keep you guys on your toes. So the Formula 1 calendar has had the Hungarian Grand Prix on it since 1986, but who is the only driver, the only Hungarian driver to have competed in the Hungarian Grand Prix since it joined the F1 calendar in 1960? So the only Hungarian driver to have competed in the Hungarian Grand Prix since it joined the Formula 1 calendar in 1986. Please let me know in the chat who you think that is, and of course, Alex, I will ask you a little later on to see if you know who that is. And if you get that one right, guys, early on, I will give you a tougher one. But we'll see how we go for that, nonetheless. So back as the drivers are now warming up their tyres for the formation lap. Of course, we've got 35 laps of high-octane running through this Hungaroring circuit. It's going to be quite the challenge today. Not an easy circuit to handle. It's going to be interesting to see which drivers can really get it right and which ones are going to get it horribly wrong. Who is anyone in this field that you're looking out for in today, Alex? Anyone that's going to bring up a surprise for you?
I mean, if we're looking as an outside chance winner, I'm looking MDJ maybe in 5th. You know, as I said, the first corner is a difficult one to go through. I mean, long straight down to the heavy braking zone. There can be a few collisions and MDJ stays out of it, he's able to just march his way through the debris and through the crowd. He may be able to get something out of this race if all things fall into his favour.
Yeah, certainly a good opportunity. Interestingly note, Luke Burns, the only driver starting on the softer tyres. So it seems that the entire field are going for a specific strategy, not necessarily the one I'd recommend, but we'll have to wait and see how that pans out for them now as we're about to get underway. Got the lights, put the phone off the hook, leave the kids at grandma's, turn up the volume. It is time to go. Wait for the lag, guys, wait for the lag. And it is time to go racing. And Pleasurable gets a good getaway off the line. A little bit of wheel spin there. Ice-T's got a good running him into turn 1. Luke Burns gets an excellent getaway in the Alfa Romeo on the softer tyres. Surely he'll be able to get into turn 1 first. They all go 3 wide into turn 1. They're banging wheels and Luke Burns takes the lead in the Alfa Romeo. Incredible stuff from him on the softer tyres. And he is putting them to great use. Compassion from 4th on the grid. 3rd on the grid, I should say. Manages to get ahead of Pleasurable round the outside. Ice-T has dropped down to 6th. MDJ stays in 5th. Bjorn has gone ahead of his Renault teammate now as they all dash into turn 4 there. There's carnage at the back. I think it's TTVI Quicks. That's Luke Burns has lost it out of turn 4, Alex. Luke Burns, the race leader, lost it out.
Sorry, I was too busy looking at iQuicks. He lost it on the way up to that left-hander. And yeah, I just see Luke Burns now loses it through the right-hander. So he, after getting off to such a good getaway, as he loses it again, so his tyres must be torched. They must be screaming for help.
Yeah, he's probably going to have to pit to change those tyres after such a brilliant getaway from him, putting them soft tyres to good use. He's completely thrown it all away, losing it at turn 4, something he struggled at in qualifying and now struggling in the race. And of course those tyres are going to be red hot and you're not going to be able to get out. So he will probably, or should, pit now to change those tyres. There's literally no point staying on those, and that's compromised his race. His Compassion leads the field after the first lap, after starting 3rd, is leading now with Pleasurable down into 2nd place. Bjorn, an incredible start from 6th on the grid up into 3rd. Ice-T down into 4th, his Renault teammate, but Renault looking very good at the moment. MDJ in 5th, Shocky Pappy in 6th, Killer 7th, Labrax 8th, Just Mortal 9th, and Riley Buys in the McLaren in 10th place. Looking through the field to see where the battles are right now. It seems that the front 2 are getting away with the 2 Renaults behind them, but they're falling back now. Compassion, he's got probably not a lot of pressure on him at the moment, with Plige and Bolt are the same. So this is more going to be a race for pride between these two. These two have been fighting each other a lot this season, with Plige and Bolt coming out on top almost every time. But Compassion right now, Alex, got a great opportunity to try and get some level of revenge, some level of pride back into his driving, which is something that he's desperately been lacking this season. But hopefully he can get something today.
Yeah, I mean, they're both going to be looking for seats next season. As we see now, maybe the teams are looking like, alright, rid the pressure off with the championship not involved anymore. Let's see what which one of these drivers can find the most pace around a very tricky track in Nagydik. So if Compassion is able to keep this lead at the moment, as I think Ice-T goes on the move on his teammate, who didn't defend as much as you would expect. Pulled across to one side, let him use the slipstream and let him go past. So my pick for the win has stayed in his 5th position, MDJ. But I mean, at the moment it's just looking like a very tight race. All teams, all the races covered by less than a few tenths on each other, you have to say.
Yeah, it was a good move from Ice-T there. His teammate Bjorn didn't really fight it, and you could already see that Bjorn was struggling to keep up with the leaders, so he's released his teammate at the earliest opportunity without compromising his race. Now Ice-T can really get after the leaders. Can he live with their pace? So already 2 seconds ahead of him at the moment. Bjorn now starting to fall into the clutches of MDJ in the Williams, who's got Shocky Pappy right behind him, who's doing a good job so far in the Mercedes, must be said. So we're going to have to see how those battles unfold, but we're quickly starting to see the front 2 get away. Ice-T now, can he catch the leaders? Can he keep up with them? Or is it going to be a formality where he's going to have a race of his own at the moment? Further down the order, as we predicted, Luke Burns and TTVI Quicks both pitted. Let's go on to the harder tyres. Its DRS has been enabled now. Compassion slightly faster than Pleasurable, but the problem is the double DRS through turn 1 to 2 and all the way run down into turn 2 as well. The double DRS is really helping Pleasurable stay within that DRS at the moment. So right now, you've got to say, Alex, Pleasurable very much looking in the driver's seat, as all the work that Compassion is doing to get away from him, Pleasurable just pulls it all the way back in the DRS.
Yeah, and I think, and that's one of the sacrifices you have to take if you're sitting.
Oh, sorry, Alex. Sorry, Alex, to interrupt. Danny Hatkamper's had a spin coming out of turn 2. Not sure what happened to him, but his car facing the wrong way, all the way down now into 17th place. So Danny Hatkamper having problems there. Not sure if he had a collision with somebody, but that's really compromised his race now, as he's going to have a lot of catching up to do further down the fields.
Yeah, it's going to be disappointing for him. But as I was saying, with Rosenwald sitting behind him, obviously you're getting all the dirty air from Compassion, so that's just going to heat up your engine, heat up your tyres, and going to make you wear your tyres out quickly. But you also have that extra bit of speed with the DRS, and I think down this start-finish straight, if he's close enough, he may be able to use that to his advantage, and maybe even use the slipstream as well.
Oh, we have a fight now going on between MDJ going for a move. He's passed Bjorn as well up into 4th position. So he got that move very nicely done there. Had a lot more speed than Bjorn did as well when he makes that move. So Bjorn in the Renault starting to struggle now. Just as he let his teammate go through, he's now being overtaken by cars behind him. And now he's got Shocky Pappy looking to go. He's dancing to the left and to the right to hold off the Mercedes driver. But he's managed to keep him behind for now. But Bjorn really struggling at the moment. Shocky Pappy all over him. On board with the Mercedes driver now. As Bjorn moves to the left of the fence, moves to the right, covering all of the track there. Not really a move to overtake as Ice-T gets a time penalty for multiple warnings. That's certainly not going to help out his race. We've got Labrak sitting nicely in 7th. And we talked about earlier, Vesta Racing up into 9th place. Further down, we've got Roy Boy, Junior Span, and Riley Byers has gone further down the field. He was formerly in the top 10, has now dropped to 15th position. So he's having a problem. Levi Volgalar in the Huss has dropped down to 14th after going off at turn 5. So the drive was already, Alex, starting to struggle for grip on these medium tyres. Quite surprising because these mediums would normally, I'd expect to take these drivers to around lap 15. But at the moment, they're already struggling for grip.
Yeah, I've just gone on board with Riley and he has a broken front wing. I don't know if Levi is the same. No, Levi has still got...
Oh, sorry, Alex. It's got Pleasurable making a move for the lead. He's gone down the inside. He used the DRS well. They bang a little bit, but Pleasurable has moved into the lead now. Compassion's going to try and fight him back there, but he's probably got nothing to fight him with as the double DRS proving very effective, and Pleasurable moving into the lead calmly and nicely as you like. Now the question is, can Compassion stick with Pleasurable as Pleasurable did with him and try and re-overtake him for the lead? Alex, sorry to interrupt you there. You were saying?
Oh yeah, Riley had a bit of wing damage, so I think he may have stayed out as there's a battle down below. It's him and Mortal going side by side here. Well, he's going side by side with Levi now, is Mortal, so a good battle down the field here for 14th. As will they go side by side through the left hand, and no, he's just going to slip in behind. So a good battle for 14th there, but the overtake from Pleasant Bowl is, as I said, what would happen. Use the DRS, use the slipstream down into the first corner, and then especially that double DRS makes it very hard for the driver ahead to keep up.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Now as you see Compassion coming through the final corner now. Now he's got the DRS, he's going to be able to use it to his advantage. Pleasurable now 6/10 of a second ahead, but you'll see how powerful the DRS is. He just pulls right towards where the Ferrari is, but he's not close enough this time to make a move as Pleasurable goes a little bit wide into turn 1 there, misses the apex by a good couple of by about a metre or so, and that's a big thing as Shocky Pappy has moved down the into turn 1, a brilliant move. Oh, but they've banged wheels there on the exit. It's got very, very loose, and Bjorn is able to take advantage, but surely Shocky Pappy around the inside of turn 2, he's not going to have the grip as we start to undulate going into the next corner. And now Bjorn, is he going to be able to take that place back? He does. So excellent driving there, banging wheels, but all the same, fair and firm and hard racing between those two. That's a battle that's going to really develop as this race goes on, Alex. And
yeah, I mean, that kit, they're so close to each other. Even Killer 7 is nearly within a second of Labrak, so they're so close to each other, that middle pack, all in the battle for 6th here. But even 5th, because Pappy is right on the back of Bjorn as well now. I completely forgot, so the battle for 5th is close. Closely contested by about 4 drivers. So it's going to be an interesting one to see who comes out on top. Down the DRS straight here, who will go for a move, as Bjorn will come to the inside to try and break the slipstream, and again, so Shocky Pappy won't have the speed and the slipstream to get past Bjorn there, but maybe out of the second, exit into this second DRS point. No, he's still not close enough, so Bjorn has done well to make the gap a bit too big for him to get past there.
Yeah, it's important to maximise your exit there, and of course swerving left and right all the way to break the toe to the other drivers behind them. It's really important because DRS can be very powerful. With a double DRS there.
Sorry to...
oh yeah, you're right, Alex, yeah.
Levi's just put it into the wall.
Oh, and that's a shame, and that's him out of the race. You can see a huge shunt there into the wall, and that's his race over. I'm not sure if you saw what happened to Levi there,
yeah,
Alex.
All I saw was Het Camper went for the move down the inside through the first turn, and Levi had to, got his run through the corner compromise, went out wide and tried to stay within the battle, kept the power on, but just couldn't find the grip, so got a bit squirmy, tried to keep his foot in it to try and recover it, but then just lost it and put it straight into the barricade on the left hand side of the track, so he'll be very disappointed with that result.
Oh, and it's Shocky Pappy now going for a move at the outside. Last lap he wasn't close enough. This time he's more than close enough. He gets the move done, manages to defend it well enough, and he's now up into 5th place. Finally got the move done on Bjorn, and looks like he will keep it but further behind. Labrax has seen an opportunity here to try and get on Bjorn around the outside of turn 2. Can he hold it in there? He'll get the inside into turn 3. Bjorn forces him as wide as he dares, and they're still side by side going through turn 3. This is brilliant stuff now, and it looks like Bjorn is just about by the skin of his teeth going to hold on to 6th position, almost losing 2 places in the matter of 2 corners. I'll tell you what, Alex, Bjorn is really struggling on these medium tyres right now, because he is almost being left for dead by everybody trying to pass him as Killer 7 cuts the track there. Surely will give him a warning. This is brilliant stuff from these guys. Talk about a track that doesn't have many overtaking opportunities. Nobody's told these drivers that. They're literally hammer and tongs all the way through this lap.
Yeah, he's definitely, again, I'm riding on board with Vesta. He's at the back of this little battle between Labrax, Bjorn and Killer 7. I mean, Vesta's right there as well now. He's right on the back of Killer 7. So as they've been battling, Vesta was a second away 2 laps ago, now right on the gearbox, as I think IST has gone into the pit. So he's making the early decision to come in. He will fit the hard tyres. So has he was on a pair of softs before, I'm pretty sure, right? I'm not losing my mind, because they had 2 sets of mediums there, so I'm very confused. Oh no, he has used the mediums before, because he's gone onto another set of hards, so we'll see. He will most likely go to the end of the race on this compound, and he's just trying to make the undercut work.
Yeah, most likely, as Labrax goes past Bjorn, and Avesta Racing, a brilliant move there. Just saw that in the background of turn 4. I was just going to say, is anyone bold enough to make a move into turn 4? Well, Avesta Racing, as you mentioned, doing a good job, has managed to move up into 7th place with an excellent move up the inside of Killer 7 into turn 4. Brilliant stuff for him. Bjorn now finds himself down into 6th behind Labrax. So Labrax has been freed. IST, as you mentioned, on the harder tyres, the first man to pit. So what it shows us, Alex, is despite the fact that the medium tyres were expected to go longer, up to lap 15 potentially, it hasn't happened, as TTV iQuick's now out of the race after another incident for him. So the Ferrari driver once again not scoring, despite the fact that he's going to be a Constructors champion, which is not sure what to make of that, but nonetheless you've got to be in it to win it, and he's certainly done that much. As we now progress on to lap 11 of 35 in the Hungarian Grand Prix for Formula Euroleague Tier 2. You are live watching us on the Formula Euroleague Twitch channel, and of course if you're watching us on YouTube, you can watch the races live on Sunday lunchtime on the Twitch channel. And this has been an exciting opening stint to this race so far, as Roy Boy and Dimitri GTVA on his debut for the Red Bull team, currently trying to get into the top 10. So Red Bull still have a realistic chance of this Constructors' Championship, but as it stands, it looks like Ferrari are going to take home the honours today, unless Compassion can do something about Plojabol. The gap between them is half a second. It's been that way from the start of the race until Plojabol passed Compassion to take the lead, and it still remained that gap between them. So those two, literally nothing to separate them at this point in time, but still plenty of racing to go.
Yeah, I've just been watching on board with Compassion, and literally nothing can separate them. The pace is so even between them two. He just keeps getting DRS, but he just doesn't have the best run through the final few turns, so he's not able to keep a close enough gap that he's able to go down for a move. But he closes it down to about 4 attempts every lap through the first turn, and then into the second activation point he closes it down to about 3.5 attempts. So he just needs to get close enough that he's able to break into the overtaking point. As big moment for Bjorn there.
Yeah, Vesta had passed him a couple of corners before, Avesta seemed to be the guy finding the overtakes in places where you wouldn't normally expect them to be, and Bjorn there going down the inside, it wasn't really on for him to take that place back. He left his nose in there, and it very much almost resulted in him losing it, as well as Avesta doing a good job to hold on to the rear end of that car after getting shunted. And now, a twitch from Bjorn there. He's starting to struggle, and he's lost 7th as well now. So Killer 7 has overtaken Bjorn after starting the race very, very well. Looks like he's having trouble with that Renault. He cannot get it turned in properly or under control. And now, down into 8th place. It's not going his way, as his teammate Ice-T, despite pitting earlier on, may live to regret that. As now Compassion dives into the pits to the first of our front runners. Compassion going for the undercut on Plajabal. Now, this is going to be important because whilst we expect him to put on the harder tyres, Alex, he needs to come out in some clear track. Is this too early for him? Or do you expect this to be the right time for him to make that pit stop?
I don't know. I mean, looking at the pack he's going to come out into, he may have just timed it perfectly. He may come out behind Junior, Spam and Collie here, and he does just come out behind them. So he will get DRS, I believe. So that does give him some extra speed down this straight to make the undercut work. But maybe he's trying to force Ploygen Bowl's hand a bit. Maybe he's saying, look, my tyres are getting worn, I'm going on fresher tyres, it's your call now. Because maybe Ploygen Bowl was like, oh, my tyres aren't that warm. Because I think that's the best thing about coming in second, is that you make the calls on the pit stop, and if you come in for the undercut, the leader can't do anything to stop it. So it'll be interesting to see what Ploygen does now with his tyres.
Well, Compassion, I'd say it's a good initiative. Unfortunately, he's come out in the middle of the battle between Junior, Spam and Collie for 8th position. Unfortunately, Collie lost some ground. Compassion has moved ahead of him into 9th place. Junior, Spam just ahead of him now. So Ploygen Bowl responds, but despite the fact that Compassion's had a lap undercut, he's not really been in clear air. If anything, he's had to make an overtake. This could really compromise him. If Ploygen Bowl can get ahead as MDJ pits as well, Ploygen Bowl might have enough in his pocket after Compassion came out in traffic. So we're going to have to wait to see, where is Compassion? Where is he? He's coming down the back straight now. He will have DRS with Junior Spam. I'll tell you what, this is going to be really close. Where is Ploygen? There he is on the top right, as you can see in the Ferrari, and he's ahead of Compassion. So the undercut has failed as Ploygen manages to stay ahead of Compassion. MDJ comes out in 10th position, just ahead of Labrak. So as we mentioned, Alex, despite having that one lap undercut, it didn't work for Compassion because he had traffic ahead of him. He wasn't able to make use of those new tyres, and Ploygen taking the earliest opportunity to pit, put on a fresh set of boots, and comes out ahead. And they're half a second between them, just as they were before they pit. Further down, Danny Heckkamper has retired in the Toro Rosso. Not sure what has happened to him, but he is out of the race. Such a shame for him, and it's prompted a safety car.
And that is really going to do the likes of Chico Papi and Avesta well, because they can come into the pits now.
Absolutely.
Pretty much gain a free pit stop on the drivers behind them. So if they go into the hards, they'll regain in quite good track position as well. They'll be on fresher tyres. But it also helps the like of Compassion and Ploygen Bowl, so they will have a few laps to rest their tyres, getting back to optimum temperature to go back battling again.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right there, Alex. And you can see now race leader Shuki Papi coming into the pits. Of course, Ploygen Bowl and Compassion should come out now in the lead, as they do, first and second to pick up the safety car. So it didn't really hurt them too much. Of course, if they were a bit further down on the lap, it really could have hurt them. Ice-T finds himself back into 3rd place. However, he's on much older hard tyres than the rest. Of course, this also gives a reprieve to some of the drivers a bit further down, like Luke Burns in particular, who at one point was leading this race after his but then obviously had that incident in turn 4. What is he going to do? Is he going to come into the pits? He does come into the pits. So he's now... So yeah, a driver like him, he'll find himself at the back of this pack hopefully, and that will really help him out, because he was not really anywhere at the moment in this race. But further up the field, we've got Ploygen Bowl leading. If you've just joined us for the live Twitch team of Formula Euroleague Tier 2, we're almost at the halfway point of this race. And Pleitschenbowl is in the lead at the moment. Of course, was starting on the pole position, lost the lead early on after a poor getaway, managed to get back into the lead after passing Compassion, who is sitting in second place now, and Ice-T in third, MDJ fourth, so he's managed to get himself back amongst the front drivers in the field, so he hasn't lost out much. Shocky Pappy, the big winner, looking at the places gained on the start, one of the big winners, made up 4 places. You can see Avesta Racing up into 6th after starting 14th. And it's been quite a shift. Of course, the big winner, of course, is Dimitriel, I should say, in 9th place in the Red Bull, doing a great job on his debut so far, up into 9th place. And as you can see, the big loser of all of that, Luke Burns, started 4th, was leading the race after almost at the start, and unfortunately had an incident turn 4 where he completely lost the rear end of his car, and that is why he's having to recover his race at the back of the field. So it looks like, Alex, everyone with the exception of Riley Buys and Ice-T are on fresh, hard tyres, although not really used that much. What is going to be your thoughts in this race now? Because everyone looks like they're going to go to the end. And are we going to see some people conserving their tyres to give them more to the end, or is everybody going to just try and go for it now? So saying I've a few technical difficulties for Alex to not be able to hear me there. Hopefully he's still with us. Have to wait and see.
Yeah, I'm still here. Sorry. As I was saying before, I had some problems. The track, as you say, this track, I think it's all about track position. I mean, you say it's a track where it's tough to overtake, so if you can get out ahead, even if you do get overtaken on the DRS straights, they still have to go through those final windy turns with your dirty air, giving them oversteer, which I think was the problem with Compassion there, not being able to close up the gap. He had the dirty air of Pleitschenbowl ahead of him, stopping him from getting the best run out of the final corner. So I think you want to push your tyres as soon as possible, really, and then conserve them later on in the race. So if you do need to defend, then you can save up your tyres to do it later on.
That's a good point. As the safety car now comes in at the end of this lap, as Roy Boy has got a 5-second time penalty for a collision with Dimitriel. Stewart's going to have to review that one to see if they can get rid of it. Now the safety car pulls into the pits. Compassion now has the role of the safety car to really bunch the pack up. Now don't forget, guys, the point where you can start to overtake is at the start-finish line, not the safety car line, the start-finish line. As Pleitschenbowl goes through the final corner now, really lets it rip and goes across the line, but it looks like the drivers behind him have stayed with him very nicely, and there's going to be a lot of opportunities to overtake into turn 1. No DRS, we've got 2 laps of running before we reopen DRS now, as it will ply into turn 1. There's contact. One of the Mercedes. It's Shocky Pappy. It's completely lost it, and that's allowed Pleitschenbowl has been knocked by Shocky Pappy, and that's caused Compassion to retake the lead. So Pleitschenbowl got hit by the Mercedes there. Not sure what happened with Shocky Pappy, just flew into him, and that's caused Compassion to move into the lead of this race in the Red Bull. So well, what a turn up for the books that is. Avesta now up into 5th, so Williams 4th and 5th, Bjorn 6th, Labrak 7th, Dimitriel 8th, 9th, Roy Boy, Killer 7 up into 10th place. So yeah, what happened there, Alex? I mean, Shocky Pappy just completely flew into the leaders there.
I mean, that's one of the events where you can find the words to explain it. I mean, my only reasoning that it could be is maybe he's locked up and he just couldn't stop the car in time to change his direction, so he's just gone straight on and ploughed into Pleitschenbowl. So Pleitschenbowl's going to have a few choice words for Shocky Pappy at the end of the race if the positions stay like this, but we have literally reached the halfway point of the race now, so we'll have to wait and see about what can happen now. It should be a straight race to the end, no pit stops involved, as I think Just Mortal comes into the pits, while a lot of drivers into the pits. Avesta, Junior Spam, so it's going to be disappointing for Avesta, as he was up into 5th but now had to make a derelict pit stop.
Yeah, just Mortal Veloz and Collie at the back were having a real difficult time trying to get into the pit lane. It was an absolute chaos. The Constantine effect, it was worse than London rush hour traffic at the best of times trying to get in there. And this is the problem that a track like this creates under the safety car. Everyone is so bunched up. It only takes one driver to snatch a break. And we certainly can't rule out if someone had actually gone into the back of Shocky Pappy, which would have sent his car flying out of his control into the leader. But that's certainly thrown up the order a little bit now. Compassion now leads by 3/4 of a second, followed behind by Pleasurable. It looks like it's already them two of getting away from Ice-T behind him. Was on much older hard tyres. MDJ doing a solid job in the Williams in 4th place. Now Bjorn being given a bit of a reprieve back into 5th and looks like he might be in contention for a podium after all. Another thing to point out, Alex, Luke Burns was at the back of the field up into 8th position, although he's on the medium tyres, so he's going to have a task to make sure those last to the end of the race. But it looks like he's recovered his race very nicely as MDJ has overtaken IC and
not too sure what happened with him there.
He pulled into the pit lane and then retired. It's a very interesting decision there. Not sure what's gone on there, but he is out of the race. And I do apologise, guys, if you're watching this stream. There's been a bit of a technical issues, although we are still going on at the moment in this race. We are still on the air, so do bear with us, as if you refresh the Twitch page, it should bring the broadcast back. And there we are. So, now apologies there for the technical error, guide. Not sure what happened. Certainly not on my side. Twitch just had a bit of an error there. But thanks for rejoining us if you're still following us Formula EuroLeague. We are at lap 19 of 35. We have Compassion leading the way with Pleasurable, the Formula EuroLeague Tier 2 champion in 2nd position, who's literally less than half a second behind. He's right on the tail of that Red Bull. These two have broken away already. We're on board with a Ferrari driver now, as he looks like he's going to try and size up a move. Compassion moves to the right hand side to defend, and Pleasurable goes to the outside to try and attack him on the outside here. It's a better run on the exit, but down the inside goes Compassion to defend. He tries to force Pleasurable as far as he can, but leaves him enough space for the Ferrari driver, for the champion, to go around the inside into turn 2, and Pleasurable retakes the lead from Compassion. Excellent driving from both of those two. Very respectful racing, and Pleasurable looks like he's got that move done, although Compassion still fighting him into turn 4. These two just will not give up. This is brilliant stuff.
Riley lost it out of the first corner. Sorry to interrupt you, Adam. I think Riley had a bit of an issue, maybe a coming together of the two drivers through the first corner, so he had to go into a bit of a spin. So his hard tyres should be coming near the end of their life, already 11 laps on them. Sorry to interrupt that.
No, it's fine. To be fair, it should be he probably could do double that at this point, but he's lost a bit of his front wing end plate on the right hand side, so he's going to have to pit for more to repair the damage. Just Mortal Veloz coming in again, another pit stop, although he hasn't changed his tyres by the looks of it, so unless the graphic is wrong. But what a nightmare race it's been for him. And of course Riley Bites has been doing really well in the points, but now he's fallen out of it, and that could be his chances ruined. Further back to the front again, Pleasurable leading the field now, half a second ahead of Compassion, who looks to try and go for a move on the inside, but not close enough to retake the lead. But it's a double DRS leading into turn 2 now, so Compassion, if you can get a good exit in that Red Bull, there's not a lot of room to work with, but it looks like Pleasurable might have him cleared off. He doesn't go for the lunge, it wasn't really there. And once again, the battle resumes between these two. It seems that Pleasurable has the edge in terms of pace, but he... That's a little interesting. Luke Burns going for a move up the inside of Roy Boy there, and Luke Burns looks like trying to recover his race after what promised to be a great first lap. He's still gone around the outside of turn 3. Can he make it stick into turn 4 where he's had troubles? He doesn't, as Roy Boy goes around the outside very late into turn 4 there. He did go off the track a little bit. Not sure if that move will be legal, but Luke Burns still trying to fight him on the medium tyres. Roy Boy fighting all he can. Luke Burns trying to get through. He cuts the track to the inside there. As force wide, he goes for a move the inside. These two still fighting hard here. Roy Boy not giving up that position. Luke Burns desperate to try and get past him on these medium tyres now. He gets a great run and goes for the inside. Surely this time he's going to get the move done. Roy Boy still fighting him. They're still side by side. They've been that way for the best part of 3/4 of a lap. Surely now Luke Burns can get the move done, and he does. That is excellent stuff from the Alfa Romeo driver, whose first half of this race couldn't have gone any worse for him, but the second half is turning out to be quite more fun for him. Alex, what did you make of that? What a piece of driving from those two.
Well, I mean, they were practically side by side for half the track. Nearly the full track. They went from turn 3 onwards to about turn one of the last turns on the track. So the fact they were carrying side by side, and especially through the chicane, as I mentioned in earlier on today, I mentioned people may try for the overtake through the chicane if they have the run, although it's not the best overtaking spot, and Luke Burns must have licked the stamp and sent it, but he wasn't able to get the move done there, but just kept with it, kept side by side, and was able to keep the inside, or one of the most important corners on the track, probably one of the best overtaking spots on the track, the right angle turn into second to last corner. He does pick up a time penalty there for stepping over the white line, so all the hard work he's done to get past Roy Boy has now come to no avail unless Roy Boy has a penalty.
Yeah, that's going to be the issue on this track. As you said, it's very, very difficult to stay within the white lines, and it's very easy to pick up penalties. And Luke Burns has got a few of those time penalties, so he's going to need to try and get a move on to try and see if he can finish the points. Of course, he's not finished in the points at all this season since he joined Formula Euroleague earlier on this season at the Belgian Grand Prix. He's been very close. Is this going to be the day? Right now, he's in a good position in 6th place. He's getting away from the chasing pack behind him on the harder tyres, but those mediums are going to start to fall away in the next 6 or 7 laps, so he's really going to have to try his best to stay ahead of them further up in order to score points. But he's got every opportunity today with Avesta Racing, the last of the point scorers, a further I'd say about 17 seconds behind, so every chance for him today to finally break his duck. Moving back to the battle of the front once again, Alex, as brilliant as this has been, these two have been absolutely flawless today, Compassion and Plage. Literally half a second has been the gap between these two since the first lap, and they've swapped positions a few times, but the big telling factor is Compassion, I don't believe, other than the first lap, has managed to make a clean move on Compassion without any interference at the moment, and that's something that's going to play in Compassion's mind. He just cannot get close enough to Plage coming out of the last few corners. You can see here, Plage very strong out of the final few corners, builds up a gap to around 7/10 of a second, and then Compassion, as you can see, the gap there, he cannot catch Plage in DRS coming down to turn 1. It was almost a second between them as they went across the line.
I mean, it's what I said, it's the dirty air coming out of those final windy turns. He just keeps getting oversteer, as again they had to snap the back into place. So it's definitely one of the curses being in second. You get the DRS, but you have to contend with the dirty air from the car ahead. So he needs to try and get closer throughout the lap, and not just as he picked up a 3-second time penalty for overstepping the mark there. So that is going to put a downer on his race, so he will definitely now have to go for it, try and build a gap to 3 seconds if he can. So that's going to be a problem for Compassion.
Yeah, it's proven to be a real problem for them this season, getting time penalties. And the one thing about Plage, as well as being lightning quick and consistent, he very rarely gets penalties and puts a foot wrong, and that, I'll tell you what, I mean, we talk about Tier 2, but Plage next season in the Formula Euroleague Tier 1, if he gets a seat there, will have a great opportunity, and I think could really stake a claim to win the championship in that league as well. As you mentioned, the upper echelons in the pecking order for the drivers in terms of their calibre doesn't necessarily sit in Tier 1 alone, it's across all 3 tiers, and Plage definitely one of the top drivers, in my opinion, in Formula Euroleague at the moment, regardless of the fact he's only in Tier 2. Further down the field, we've got Bjorn going for a move at the inside of MDJ. These two are battling for the final podium position. Bjorn looked like he was falling away earlier on the medium tyres. In the second stint on the harder tyres, he's certainly finding a lot more joy up into 3rd place, the only remaining Renault driver after teammate Ice-T retiring from the race about 5 laps to go. Bjorn, second half of this race, Alex, doing a very good job, and now battling with MDJ. How do you see this one finishing between these two?
I mean, it's going to be the exact same as the battle for the lead. If MDJ can stay close enough through the DRS activation point and is able to use that to his advantage, then he should be able to. There's another safety car.
Yes, just more to Oz, yeah. So just Mortal Veloz has just retired. So now this is going to get interesting, because we were talking about drivers that might try and pit. Are we going to see drivers go into the pits now to put on some tyres? As just Mortal Veloz, you can see, just crashing at the exit of turn 5, a turn that's troubled a few people. Let's see what they do. So Plage dives into the pits at the last second. Compassion follows him in. So it looked like a case of whichever the leader does, you do as well, Compassion, and they both do. Bjorn, MDJ pits, Dimitri pits.
Oh, Compassion sped in the pit lane.
Oh dear, so that's going to get worse for him. What is Luke Burns to do? Is he going to pit as well? He does go into the pit, so we're worried about Luke Burns. Are those medium tyres going to wear off? Well, he's pitted. Roy Boy comes into pits. Killer 7 comes into pits. Labrax, they're all coming into the pits now, Alex, to put on some new tyres. And I imagine it's going to be a short stint for them. Put on the soft tyres. Interesting enough, though, Plageball puts on the mediums. So he... And Plageball has not done any running on the softer tyres all weekend long. So, not sure if he packed any soft tyres, but he certainly decided not to go for them. However, Compassion has, I believe, and you might want to check this for me, at least 8 seconds worth of time penalties.
Yeah, I think I saw him pick up a 3 second worth penalty, and then speeding in the pit lane gives him another 5. So he is definitely not had the cleanest of races here, trying to keep up with losing Bolt ahead of him. But as I have a look now, I can see that Compassion does have a 3 second time penalty and also a 5 second time penalty, so he has got 8 second penalty to be added on at the end of the race.
Well, at the moment, only one driver staying out and not pitting, and that was Collie 315 in the Mercedes on the harder tyres. What this is going to do, though, the last 10 laps of this race, is for drivers that are on penalties that were looking like they might be in a good position despite having the penalty, they are now going to be under pressure to hold on to those places, because now that the pack is so bunched up, they're going to lose time. Although the pack does spread out rather quickly. However, I'm not expecting anyone else to make pit stops now. This is going to be the one final stint to the finish, although Compassion knows now having the softer tyres is his best opportunity to get ahead of Plageball, but he's got to build a gap to Plageball as well. Bjorn, interestingly, as well on the medium tyres, as to is Dimitril. Not sure if they had any softer tyres left available to them, but it's going to be interesting. And you can see Luke Burns as well on the softer tyres, but he's got penalties as well, drivers behind him as to look out for, as he was getting away from them. So this is going to get very interesting now, this last phase of the race, Alex. Who do you think this... I mean, Plageball at the moment looks like he's favourite to win this race. Do you think Compassion can overtake him and build up effectively an 8 second lead?
Oh, I mean, that wouldn't be a miracle. I mean, Plageball is not the champion for a reason. If you're able to build an 8 second gap on the champion, then you deserve every plaudit you get. But I think it's just going to be too big of a mountain, and it's not just about can he build the gap, it's the mental game. Is he able to think, oh, I can build this gap, or does he just see the 8 seconds worth of penalties and think, well, I might as well just go for a battle to the end? And as you were saying, with now the packs all bunched up, it's going to be much different race with guys with penalties. Compassion, if any of the drivers below him didn't have penalties, he would drop back to about 8th. So it's just, that's an issue for him. As Riley is disqualified from the session for ignoring yellow flags.
Yeah, he was trying to unlap himself behind the safety car. Although we should mention on the game, despite the real Formula 1 world allowing lap cars to unlap themselves, the game does not allow you to do that if you are not leading the pack. So Riley is doing that, as disqualified himself from the session, and that should take into effect momentarily. Sorry, Alex, what you were saying?
Yeah, I was saying as Compassion's going to want that this pack spreads out, so his 8 second time penalty doesn't drop him about 8 positions as it would do at this moment. As the safety car stays out for another lap, so we'll have about 6 laps of clean running here till the end. So we'll just have to wait and see who can take the mark. of the white checkered flag.
There's going to be a lot of opportunity, as we saw. A lot of guys are going to go for some bold moves. Of course, Plajbal might not have to worry about compassion. It might be someone behind him feeling a bit dare and ballsy, trying to make a move on him there. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, the small matter of my question of the week, which I know you guys absolutely love and can't get enough of. So this week the question was, who is the only Hungarian Grand Prix driver, or Hungarian driver, to take part in a Formula 1 race at Hungary since its since its debut in 1986. Alex, do you know who that was?
I think it was Slot Baumgartner. He made his Formula 1 debut at the 2003 Hungarian Grand Prix.
Absolutely right, yes. Zolt Baumgartner in the Minardi team, making his debut, as you mentioned, in the 2003 Hungarian Grand Prix. Now, I remember seeing one fan in the chat getting that right. I can't remember who it was, as the stream sort of switched over, so I do apologise for missing you out. However, you know who you are, so congratulations. It was Zolt Baumgartner. Very, very good indeed. And Luke Burns getting a 5-second penalty for a collision with Dimitri. Now, one thing to point out is that these penalties under the safety car do tend to get removed by the stewards if they're contested, because what happens is you've got drivers, as you can see, the pack being bunched up, and Luke Burns may have gone into him without really being able to do anything about it. It's just one of those things. So I wouldn't worry too much about that if I was him, but he's really got to try and mitigate the number of penalties he gets. And unfortunately, we'll have to wait and see how that pans out for him. As we're about to get underway, the safety car about to come in again as Collie gets a 5-second penalty for the same thing with Roy Boy. Just to mention quickly, for those of you asking who is joining me on commentary, it's not Matthias, it's our Formula Euroleague Division 3 commentator Alex who's joining me, and as I can say, once again doing a very, very fine job stepping in for Matthias, I must say, and hopefully we'll hear more of him in the future. As we're now about to come through the final corner now, as Plajbal leads the field away, you can see Plajbal having a hard time trying to break away from Compassion, much harder than last time. Compassion will go on board with the Ferrari driver on the softer tyres. Can he go for the move here? Plajbal hugs the inside line like his favourite gran as Compassion goes round the outside into turn 1. He's going to have more grip on the softer tyres. Oh, they're literally 2x2 following all the way through. Compassion, can he hold on to the corner on the left hand side? To turn 2, he's got the inside line. There should be more grip on the outside. They bang wheels, and this is going to allow Bjorn maybe to get in there, but Compassion goes into the lead further down. MDJ battling with Luke Burns, and MDJ has been sent spinning. Oh, MDJ sent spinning. Oh, that is a nightmare for him. MDJ battling away with Luke Burns. They banged wheels, and that has dropped him down out of the race. What a nightmare for him as Luke Burns moves into 4th place. Has he got damage though? I only saw the back end of that. It looks like he does have damage on that Alfa Romeo. You see, does he have? Yeah, so he's lost both of his end plates. Oh, what a nightmare. What a nightmare for him.
I didn't see the crash happen. I just saw MDJ dropping places. But I mean, it's most likely as Riley picks up a 5-second penalty for a severe collision with him somehow. I do not know how that could have happened. But even though Riley's meant to be disqualified from the race, so we'll see what the stewards think of that penalty. But I mean, this is... Oh, there's a VSC, I've just realised. Noticed there being a VSC. Riley retires from the session, even though I'm pretty sure he was disqualified, so we'll see what happens with that one then.
Well, as we were saying, Compassion has taken the lead from Plojbal after a brilliant battle, but the problem for Compassion is not necessarily taking the lead. He's got to hold on to it, and the virtual safety car's about to be cleared now as we're about to get back underway for green flag racing, just waiting for it to be cleared here. As you can see, it's been an awfully long one to deal with that, as now Riley Byers has finally been removed from the race. There's only 12 runners left now as we're about to get through to the final stages of the Hungarian Grand Prix. Compassion leading the way. He's managed to get the jump on Plojbal there with the virtual safety car to pull out a gap of 1.7 seconds. He's going to have to get more than that if he's going to stay in that position. Looking further down the order, Bjorn doing a nice job there, up into 3rd place, considering how the first half of this race weren't panning out for him. Doing an excellent job back into the top 3. Luke Burns in 4th, but as you can see, without those front wing end plates, he's going to have an absolute cluster of cars behind him. They're all queuing up now to try and overtake him. This is going to be even more difficult for him to try and hold to that position, as Dimitri now trying to get a move up on him. As you can see, a man desperate to try and score his first point.
Junior Spam, sorry to interrupt. Junior Spam saw the inside line that Avesta gave him, but Avesta just turns in on Junior Spam, and Junior Spam raced in the Tier 3 race yesterday around Hockenheim, and he was leading the race until the final lap, where SVDL Cuts came in and cut the inside.
Sorry,
corner off,
Alex,
so
got three cars coming in there, almost three wide. You've got Luke Burns there with Labrax and Avesta Racing going into turn one. Luke Burns has got no front wing end plate. He's got hardly any downforce there, and he loses 2 places. Sensibly enough, Collie and Roy Boy battling behind them. Luke Burns surely not going to go for a lunge there. He's not going to be able to get that Alfa Romeo turned in. He holds on to 7th place now with Roy Boy and Collie battling hard behind them. Shocky Pappy a further 5 seconds behind this battle, but I'm sure he'll be approaching it fast. But yeah, Junior Spam, as you mentioned, turned into there by Avesta Racing, literally going in too close. And that's what happens in this track. If you get too close, you're going to get your nose taken off, or worse. And now Junior Spam up against it to try and see if he can get back into the points. But this race, what a crazy race it has been. We have had 2 safety cars, a virtual safety car, and it's still not over. We've got less than 5 laps to go here. Who's your money on to win? Who's your money on to get on the podium? Who's going to get in the points at the moment? Because right now, Luke Burns, you can see in 7th place, struggling without the front wing. Oh, and he turns in there on Collie. Collie just about holds on to it. You've got Roy Boy there, might try and go for a double overtake. This is crazy. He hits the back of Luke Burns there. And I tell you what, Luke Burns just about holding on. Very naughty from Roy Boy there, tagging him a little bit, but it looks like they're out. And Luke Burns there, oh, and he spun it. Oh, he's gone.
Yeah, I mean, it was getting to that point where Luke Burns was just hanging on for dear life, and Collie there tried to keep it as clean as possible, but Luke Burns just didn't have the downforce to keep it hugged in, was forced to strangle.
Oh, the 2 Alfa Romeos are still banging wheels together, Alex. Luke Burns dives up the inside of his teammate. We only saw the last bit, moving him out of the way. I tell you what, no love lost between these 2 drivers in the Alfa Romeo team. And well, Luke Burns' race started so well, then went horrible, then he managed to recover it, and now it's gone bad for him again. Clearly that incident with MDJ a couple of laps ago has taken too much off of his Alfa Romeo, but he's literally holding on. And Junior Spam has gone into the back of his teammate. What is going on, these two? I know they're fighting for personal pride here and a point, but come on, guys, it's your teammate. Golden rule of racing, do not hit your teammate. And it seems that these two clearly have thrown that rule book right out of the window. All of this just for 1 championship point. It's mental stuff here, but I tell you what, this is the thing that I certainly love to see. I can't get enough of this kind of stuff. Now, as they recommence here, Junior Spam, if you're watching this race now wondering what these two are fighting for, they're fighting for 10th place, the 2 teammates, as if their life depended on it.
I think what happened with the collision there, sorry to interrupt right now, I think Luke obviously can't carry as much speed through that turn. Junior Spam had all his wings, so he thought, I will carry as much speed as possible. And Luke Burns, a sitting duck, a bystander, a passenger there, as Junior Spam just goes straight into the back of him, loses a part of his front wings. And now the battle for 10th is without any front wing. So this is going to be a very interesting battle now between the 2 Alfa Romeos.
Well, it's almost like watching Formula 1 drivers of old when there was hardly any downforce on the front of the car. Literally couldn't get the nose turned in. You can see these two literally fighting as if their life depended on it just for a point, as Luke Burns gets another penalty. I'll tell you, I think it's up to 12 seconds now, so he's going to be really struggling. And Junior Spam, as long as he can keep it on the road, should still get that point, even if he finishes behind his teammate on the road right now. What is he going to go? He's going to go for moves on the inside. No, this time Luke Burns still going very wide. Avesta gets a 3-second time penalty. All this desperation, these guys fighting. And now coming up to the penultimate corners of this track now, as you've got Junior Spam trying. Oh, and Junior Spam's lost it. He went too much in there. He's completely lost it. And I tell you what, he's reset to track. You're allowed to do that as long as it doesn't impede the other drivers, although Killer 7 did have to move out of the way there. But I tell you what, with all that battling between the Alfa Romeos, Killer 7 could find himself back into the points, because Luke Burns has a lot of penalties to shake off, so he still might not get into the points. Back to the battle at the front, you can see here Compassion, for all his worth, it cannot break away from Pleasurable. And now Pleasurable looks like he's going to take the win. As we saw earlier, Compassion has a lot of time penalties, so Pleasurable, as long as he can keep it on the road and keep it safe behind him, should still get the win as it stands at the moment. Bjorn doing a great job in 3rd. Shout out to Labrax, who's had a very, very strange race, finds himself in 4th position. Brilliant stuff from him to recover after what looked like a very difficult, although Pleasurable's got a time penalty though, Alex.
Oh, I will have a look at how many seconds he has, as we may have missed a few.
Yeah, well, Pleasurable has got there as we come up to the final corner now, about to start the final lap. I still believe Pleasurable might have enough in him, but of course it depends if Compassion served any time penalties whilst he was in the pit. We'll have to wait and see. But now Pleasurable's got the DRS now, goes to the left hand side as Compassion. How hard will he defend into turn one? He forces Compassion to make the move up the inside there. Pleasurable was forced as wide as you possibly could be. It's still hard and fair racing. In contrast to a lot of these guys behind, these two know how to race fair by the looks of it, and Compassion just about holding on to the lead as Pleasurable cannot seem to find a way through. But he may not have to at this point. It could all be academic, and just for fun at this point, guys, let me know who you think is going to win this race. Is it Compassion? Is it Pleasurable? We come to the last half of this lap of this race, and what a race it has been. But right now we're down to the final corners now. Compassion having to negotiate at least another 6 or 7 corners. Can he keep the tier 2 champion behind him? Can he cross the line in first? Will it be enough to get the win outright, or will it all be for nothing? We'll have to wait and see as they about to come across the line any moment. We'll allow 20 seconds left of this race to go. They're literally nothing to celebrate them. Oh, and Compassion's forced off. Was he forced off, or did Pleasurable force him off there? Oh my goodness. I'll tell you what, Pleasurable, what a strange ending to this race as Killer 7 is out of the race, but Pleasurable comes through the final corner to take the win, although that is very controversial at this point as Bjorn comes through second, as Bjorn has won. Wow, what a shock. Bjorn had no time penalties, so all of a sudden we were thinking, was Pleasurable going to lose the win after that last lap incident? Well, I tell you what, he has, and after one of the most difficult opening stints for him, Bjorn, out of nowhere, takes the win for Renault. Unbelievable stuff, Alex. What in the world happened there?
Well, I mean, no one even included Bjorn in the conversation. I mean, I definitely, for one, didn't think he was going to win. I mean, I thought a podium for him would have been great. Labrax also gets on the podium due to Compassion's time penalty, so fourth for Compassion there after the spin from Pleasurable. So Pleasurable maybe thought, yes, I've got the win in the bag, but only by 7/10. Is he not quick enough or not faster than your winner of today's race, Bjorn? And I think that must be his first win of the season, surely.
Absolutely, yeah. We haven't had many winners this season, but nonetheless, of all the drivers we thought was going to be in contention for this race win, none of us expected the man on the top step of the podium to be driving for the Renault team. But nonetheless, it is your winner. It is LR Bjorn in the Renault to win the Hungarian Grand Prix for formerly EuroLeague Tier 2. Of course, that man alongside him, Pleasurable, the champion. Very controversial finish with Compassion. Will he be penalised, or did Compassion lose it by himself? We'll have to wait and see what the stewards say. But I believe, unless my maths is wrong, Ferrari have got the Constructors' Championship well and truly wrapped up. Nonetheless, we'll go through the final order. So Bjorn gets the win out of nowhere. RKO out of nowhere for Bjorn in the Renault. First place for him. New winner for the season. Our fourth winner in Formula EuroLeague this season. Pleasurable second in the Ferrari, although we'll have to wait and see. That's very much provisional after a last lap collision with Compassion. Labrax third for Toro Rosso. Is back-to-back podiums for him. Excellent job for him. Compassion down to fourth with a penalty perhaps looming for Pleasurable. We'll have to wait and see. Dimitriel did a great job up into fifth for Red Bull. However, it seems that their championship challenge in the Constructors is all but over. Roy Boy 6th for Racing Point, Avesta 7th for Williams, Collie 8th and 9th for Shocky Pappy for Mercedes, and Luke Burns gets, at long last, his first point in Formula EuroLeague, although I imagine the Alfa Romeo boss will not be impressed by that one bit after an incredibly crazy battle between him and his teammate Junior Spam, who is the last of the finishing cars in 11th place. So Alex, what are your final thoughts on that one? I was just about to, if you can, invite the top three to the post-podium interview, if you can, please.
Yes, I will be able to do that. I mean, I'd love to hear Bjorn's reaction, because he must have been just as confused as us, because I don't think he would have realised that he even had the time penalties. think you need to invite him, Adam, as you're the leader.
Sure, no problem. So I've got Bjorn Labrax, Bjorn Plusenbowl and then Labrax. So just about, bear with me one moment.
But yeah, it was just a thrilling race to watch down to the final laps, and it's just like Spain last time out when we had the battle between, I think it was Labrax and Plusenbowl for the win. Just kept trading positions on the slipstream down the start finish straight, and it's like that here at Hungary with that start finish straight in the DRS, so positions kept swapping. But I mean, congratulations to Bjorn with the win of the race. Can't dispute it. Was clean, had no penalties, and was in his own race and didn't have to worry about overtaking anyone massively or even worry about pushing his car to the limits. Commiserations for Plusenbowl, who after time penalties loses the race victory. Also Labrax, a brilliant race from him in the Toro Rosso. I said to look out for him at the beginning of today's session, and he's definitely proven me right, picking up another podium for him after finishing second last time out. And commiserations for Compassion, who looked good to maybe get a podium but just lost it on the final turn, or the penultimate turn. So I'll have to wait and see what the stewards think of that.
Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't seem that any of our podium finishers are able to join us for the post-race interviews, which is a shame, but nonetheless, it's not a problem. So, what an absolute crazy race, and of course plenty of fallout. But one thing we do know is it looks like Ferrari have won the Constructors' Championship through Pleasurable once again. We've just got to wait for the official confirmation, but it looks like that is the case. So Ferrari have got the double. Now that's all that's left to say really is thank you once again, Alex, for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure and a brilliant race once again. And
thank you for having me.
No, you're welcome. It's been a pleasure having you with us. And of course, I've been Adam Berger, lead commentator. And all that's left to say, guys, is to remind you that later on tonight we've got the Formula EuroLeague race for Tier 1 coming up later on tonight. So make sure to check that out on twitch.tv/Formula_Euro_League for the 4th round of the season. And all that's left to say is goodbye from us, and we'll see you in the next race. And a race where it seemed to be the story all about the Ferraris and our champion ended in much delightful fashion, as is much more mellow, and on the top step of the podium, very much Bjorn and Renault's day. Goodbye.